actually selling a product since 2005. We have over 1,200 installed customers across North America. We're doing very, very well. We're doubling our revenue year over year, this year over last year, and we're very, very excited about what's happening in the mobile time tracking industry mainly for construction companies. So this is an exciting time for us. It's an exciting time for the entire industry, and I really look forward to showing you our presentation because I absolutely love this product. I've been with AboutTime for 5 years now, almost to the day, and I've been selling software for about 20 years. For the top goals for this meeting, I've just written down some things here that I think are going to be important, that when I work with clients, prospective clients, these are the main things that they bring up to me that they're having problems with. Accurate tracking of time in the field and also cost codes. That's a very difficult challenge right there. Being able to complete paper time cards and making them accurate is a very difficult challenge. With AboutTime, you're going to be able to do this in real time, have a lot more accurate information. You're going to have better information in the office. You're going to be able to process payroll quicker. You're going to be able to make better decisions regarding your business. We're going to eliminate intensive paperwork. That dreaded word, paperwork. Everybody hates paperwork. It's a struggle to get in these timesheets every week, and it's a struggle to read make sure that they're accurate and to read the accuracy on there. It's going back and forth between managers and payroll people. That's a struggle that most people are having that are still on paper. Tracking labor hours and even units in real time. This is big, a really big part of our solution. Being able to know out in the field in real time what is happening with my business. How many labor hours or how many units do I have budgeted for this specific task? How many do we have accrued? How many are left? What percentage of our job has now been completed? I'm going to show you how we can track this inside AboutTime. Equipment tracking. We have many prospects and many customers that need better equipment tracking. Where is my equipment? Where are my small tools? Who's responsible for these? I'm going to show you how we can track those. Just better overall visibility of what's going on at the job site. Making instant decisions more accurately and better through reports that we generate within the system that we can automatically have send to key management people to notify them of what's happening out there at the job site. And of course the integration with the Sage products. Most of you probably have Sage 300 or some of you might have Sage 100. Doesn't matter, either one. We have a great relationship with the Sage people. We have a great integration to our application. This is a quick workflow here of our product and how we are able to get data back and forth between the payroll or the Sage product out here to AboutTime, to the guys out there in the field, and then back from the field to the main control center and back to the Sage accounting for payroll processing. The control center here is installed on your main server back at the home office. It's a Windows-based application, and this is the brains for the entire solution. This is where everything is stored. The data will be stored in an SQL database. What we do here, we have the Sage accounting out here, and we are able to bring over pretty much as the changes happen on regular scheduled intervals during the day. Jobs, employee information, cost codes, equipment if you're tracking equipment, labor budgets. We can set all of those up inside the Sage accounting, pull those right over into AboutTime, and then push them out to the guys in the field. Once the information and the data is gathered out there in the field, approvals could be made at the end of the day, and I'll show you in a minute how we can do that. We send that data back to the home office through a nice synchronization process here. Then that data can continue to be managed by your administrators and payroll people. When it comes time to run payroll, you've got everything right there, and you push it right back over into the Sage Accounting to run your payroll. So that's the workflow of AboutTime. We're going to capture the time out there in the field in real time. We're going to deliver it. We're going to set up and track budgets and equipment. I'm also going to show you how we can capture documents in real time, put documents into the system, send them out to the guys in the field, to key management people, have them complete the documents, send them back to the home office with the signature or even a photo attached. That's very powerful as well. We don't care what devices you use out there in the field. We're not going to lock you into any one specific technology. And then when that technology goes away, you're stuck with useless, outdated equipment. We don't care if you have Androids, Apples, even Blackberries, laptops, tablets. They all work great with our system. Even if it's disconnected from the internet, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you have no internet connection, you can still continue to clock in and out on these devices out there in the field. The data will stay on these electronic devices up to 15 days. So I'm sure within 15 days you're going to find a Wi-Fi or a data connection to send that data back to the home office. And I'm going to show you how easy it is for you to be able to clock in and out. We have basically two ways of clocking in and out. The most traditional way would be using a 4-digit code here. Every employee will have a unique 4-digit code. Generally, last 4 digits of a Social Security number seem to work very well. They can either clock in themselves using that, or we have a biometrics, an excellent way of clocking in a large number of people at a job site very quickly and very accurately. We have a drywall company down in Texas that has been on biometrics with AboutTime for about 4 years now. They can clock in 75 guys within 5 minutes using biometrics and have it be totally accurate. With the new biometrics devices and the new improved readers, it'll read right down to the vein structure of the finger. Doesn't matter if there's grease on the finger or dirt, it will still read that print and clock a person in. There's actually a third way that we have now, which is brand new, which we are just introducing with our latest release, and that's a web clock. So if you have access to a web browser and you prefer clocking in using a web browser, we have that capability as well. And I'm not aware of any other company out there in the industry that does mobile time tracking that has as many ways of clocking in and out as we do here at AboutTime. We have our application on the mobile device out there. We could either have an employee clocking in, or we can have a supervisor clocking in a crew. For larger companies, this seems to be the preferred method, either this or biometrics, where we're able to clock in a crew to a specific job through a supervisor or manager out there in the field. The next thing you'd see would be a list of cost codes. What are you working on? What are you doing today? You can clock in and out of those. You could also see another list of equipment if you're tracking equipment. And I'm going to get into more detail in just a minute as I bring up a simulator and show you how we can clock in and out. GPS, this is a very big part of our application. We're not going to follow these employees around all day long. That's going to deplete the battery life of your electronic devices. So what we do is we track where they were when they clocked in and where they were when they clocked out, or changed jobs or changed tasks. You can set up a geofence around the job site. If somebody clocks in outside of that geofence, it will let you know immediately that Carl out here clocked in outside of the job site. It will notify you via email. You could also run a discrepancy report. An excellent way of tracking where your employees are, where they're supposed to be. It will print out a nice report, roll call report every morning and let you know where your people were when they clocked in or clocked out and what they're doing. The traditional way of clocking in and out is so we have the PIN method here, the employee in and out, the GPS. At the end of the day, a supervisor can go into the system and approve what is going on. not only can he approve, but he can do any edits that need to be made. Who knows best what's going on out there in the workforce, at the workplace, other than the supervisor or the foreman? So he can be responsible for making correct changes to the time and the tasks that were performed that day. You can put a signature on any of these electronic devices, send it back to the home office. We also have, for those who prefer this method, an after-the-fact electronic timesheet built into the application. So a supervisor could go in after the fact at the end of the day, put in the employee's name, the job they were working on, the cost code, the equipment if you're tracking equipment, and put in total hours worked. We do have some companies that prefer this method, although most of our current customers like the real-time way a lot better than after the fact. But it's nice to know we have that. You could also do edits and approval for that. This is a really big part of our application. We have the Sage accounting out here. We can pull man-hours and even units. If you're tracking production units, how many square feet of this did we do today? How many linear feet of this did we do today? How many were budgeted? You can pull that data from your Sage accounting, push it into AboutTime, push it out to the managers out there in the field. They're going to compare budgeted hours or units to accrued or worked hours or units. You're going to be able to see this every day in real time. Now you don't have to wait until payroll is run to find out that you might be falling behind on your job according to your labor hours or labor units that were budgeted. A supervisor will be able to see this every day on his device. He's going to be able to see hours budgeted or units, hours accrued or worked, hours remaining, and what percentage of that job has now been completed based on the hours budgeted and the hours worked. We can also print out a nice report that will show this and send it to your key management people at a certain time every day that you schedule that report to be received in a PDF format on a smartphone or a tablet. We can also track equipment inside AboutTime. We can do that two ways. We can either track it by having an actual piece of equipment assigned to a task and have an employee assigned to that piece of equipment, or we can track assets, large pieces of equipment, small tools, ladders, generators, anything that you need to track. Where are these items? What job have they been assigned to? You'll be able to see where these different pieces of equipment are supposed to be according to where you've assigned those. You could even have an employee be responsible for those pieces of equipment. So we can assign it to a job, and we can track it according to how many hours were used for that piece of equipment. We could do it for smaller tools as well. You could also track real-time progress inside AboutTime by taking a photograph, because smartphones have cameras on them as well as many tablets, and you'd be able to take a photograph of a specific issue out there at the job site. Always attached to a job. The job that you're clocking in and out of, that's where that photo will be attached to. You could also put in a note, a text or an audio note. You can simply speak into the device, let management know what's going on out there in the field through a text or an audio note and a photo. If you're clocking in and out individually and not having a supervisor clock a crew in, you can ask and set up some feedback questions at the end of the day. You could also do this if you're using biometrics. The employee will have to answer these questions before he clocks out. You can make them up. You can put in there as many as you need to. They can be numeric questions, or they can be yes or no answers. So numeric answers or yes or no answers. So anything that you need to ask that they need to respond to before they clock out, you can put those into the system, and it will be recorded. AboutTime will let you know immediately what is going on out there in the job site, allow you to make quick decisions, visibility as it happens. If someone is reaching overtime based on your overtime rules that you have set up inside AboutTime, it will alert your key management people that this person is approaching overtime, allow you to make some decisions as to what you want to do with that employee. We have a nice weather dashboard inside AboutTime. Real-time weather from the National Weather Service. It will let you know when certain weather events are happening out there in the field, if there's high wind, if there's freezing temperatures, anything that you want to set up inside the weather dashboard that would need to have alerts sent to key management people that would affect the job at the job site. The budget that we just talked about, that will also allow you to have an email sent to key individuals within your organization and let them know that you're approaching 100% of your labor budget or unit budgets. If somebody clocked in outside of the job site, it will immediately let your managers know if a field note or a photo came in. The weather dashboard will look a lot like this. In fact, it will look exactly like this. You'll have the job over here, the city, the region, the temperatures here, the humidity, the wind speed, the visibility, and the conditions out here. The reason some of these are in red is because thresholds have been set up. Alert me when certain things happen. And then the system will alert you as to certain weather events, allowing you to make proper decisions as to what you need to do there at the job site. Forms Express. This is a very big part of our application as well. And as far as I know, we are the only mobile time and attendance tracking system out there that has custom forms that you can build into the system. So if you are currently filling out safety forms, materials used forms, customer receipts, inventory, virtually any form, and you are doing this on a handwritten form, we can digitize that form and put it into AboutTime. You want to put it into this control center here at the home office, send it out to the key management people in the field. They're going to complete that form along with a signature and even a photo if you need to attach a photo. Send it back to the home office and allow you to be able to manage those forms from there. Now let's get into the actual application. I have a few simulators I'm going to bring up here. The first one is an Android type simulator. If you have an iPhone, it'll look very similar, same with the BlackBerry. The name of the company is up here. And then I'm going to show you two ways of clocking in. First an individual, and then a supervisor clocking in a crew. This person is 2001, and it's going to be Phil here. Okay, Phil Mickelson, he's a golfer, as many of you might know. He had a bad year this last year, so he has to work like the rest of us. Okay, so he's working here for this company. Date and the time, in and out. This is a job that has previously been assigned to Phil by someone back at the home office. If you give Phil privileges and he needs to change the job that he's on, he can do this through this location tab here. What you will see now is a list of jobs as they come in from your Sage accounting in the same format that you have in Sage. That's how it's going to show up out here in AboutTime. One other thing we can do with these jobs, we can filter down and we can put phases in there. We can break these down into as many different areas as you need to. For example, this Carolina Panther Stadium job has a little icon out here, which means I have broken this up into levels, and even the main level there, I have broken it up into further phases. So AboutTime allows you to go as many levels deep as you need to describe what your jobs are out there in the field. So I'm going to go back and clock in now to this Ridgestone Building 5 because I have some demo data in there. And again, it alerts me and lets me know just to make sure I'm clocking in to the correct location or job, and it's going to ask me if I need to change it. I say no. The next list that comes up would be a list of cost codes. And again, these cost codes can be identified in more specific detail. And these cost codes will be set up and show up on the devices out in the field in the exact same format that you set them up inside the Sage Accounting. For example, excavation. I have excavation divided up into 3 different categories. I have grading and prep, backfill, and compaction. Let's say it's a grading and prep job. The next list would be a list of equipment that you would use out there in the field. Let's say it's a track hoe. So if you're tracking equipment, this will show up. If you're not tracking equipment, they'll never see that list. So now you can see Phil here is clocked in to this job here, to the grading and prep using that track hoe. Phil says, yes, that looks good, I accept it, so he goes to work. Now a few hours later, the super comes along and says, hey Phil, I need you to go over here and do something else. It might be the same job, it might be a different job. So Phil goes and clocks in wherever he might be. Let's say it's the same job. He does not have to clock out of that previous excavation, grading, and prep. As soon as he clocks into the new one, AboutTime is going to clock him out of the old one. Now notice what shows up here first. I'm tracking production units. And if I have production units assigned to that cost code, which is grading and prep, then that person has to put in a production unit that's going to associate with whatever you have set up inside your accounting, whether that be square footage, square yards, or miles, or linear feet, or whatever it might be. So he has to put something in there before he clocks out. This is how we track production units. And again, this will never show up unless you have production units assigned to that specific task. Okay? So now Phil's clocking into something else. There's going to be some footings here, and what he's going to do, again, I have the footings set up into different categories. So he's going to clock into that footings, and my simulator is acting up a little bit. I apologize. So let's go back to the footings here. And we should see some, there we are, forming, pouring, stripping, whatever it might be. Let's say we're pouring today. So now he's clocked into that. And remember, he doesn't have to clock out of that previous task. AboutTime will do it for him. So he's clocking in and out all day long as he works. And he doesn't have to use the same device that he originally clocked into. He can use any device out there that's assigned to the system and clock in and out on that device. So if he doesn't have that same device available to him, he can use somebody else's. It doesn't matter with AboutTime. So Phil is clocking in and out, and he's going to be, let's have him clock out here. And this is a simulator, and it's just, sometimes it acts up a little bit. There we go. So let's have Phil clock out here, so we have a clock out in there for him. And we'll clock him in again. Now he's off the job at the end of the day, and we're going to be able to clock him out. And he's going to be able to see some of those questions that we require him to respond to before he clocks out. Let's just go back again here. Sorry about that. We have a lot of people using this same database here at AboutTime, so sometimes it really slows up. I think we're back on track here now. Okay. So he's going to clock out at the end of the day. Now we have the questions that you can ask him. In this case, is did you return all your equipment to the job trailer? Yes, I did. And then the next one would be, did you take your required 15-minute breaks today? In some states, labor laws are very strict, and they require you to keep track of how many breaks that you give your employees every day. This is a very good way of tracking those. Were you injured on the job is a very good question that many people like to ask to help with workers' comp issues. And now Phil's off the clock. Okay? Now the other way of clocking in would be to have a supervisor clock in the crew. So here I have a supervisor. It happens to be myself. I'm a manager out there in the field. I can clock in a whole crew all at once. And the crew was previously been assigned to me, again, by people back at the home office. So I'll see this list here the job. I'll see all of my crew members that should be there. I just put a little check mark next to that box. If someone is not there at the job site, leave it blank. Have that employee come later on and clock in himself, or have the super clock in that employee when he finally arrives at the job site. So I'm going to clock in here, use the same location, and clock these guys into a specific task, whatever it might be. Now I can divide that crew up into different smaller crews if I need to. And I'm going to show you now how we can do that. So if I want to take those guys, first of all, if I want to take that same crew and clock them into something else, it's very easy to do. All I have to do is select the last list right here, select last, and that last list that I clocked in will now show up, and I can clock them into something else. If I want to take some of these guys, I'm going to take myself. Let's leave Zach here on that same task that he had before. Let's leave Mike there as well. Let's take Jared and Charlie here. And Matt finally showed up. We'll leave Charlie working on that previous one. So I'm going to take these three guys, and I'm going to clock them into a different task. So I can break up that crew, and I can clock them into different tasks all day long. Okay, let's say they're going to be do some specialty concrete work here. So I've got part of that crew working on this. I've got part of the crew working on something else. So again, I can clock them in all day long, clock them out. They're never actually going to have to clock out. AboutTime will clock out for you as you clock into something new. So all you're doing is clocking in, clocking in, clocking in. At the end of the day, you're clocking out. Now, there are some additional features, some additional things that a supervisor can do out there at the job site that an employee cannot do. This is a privileged system, and you can assign to these different employees or managers out there in the field what you want them to do during the day as to what you want them to do on the clock. Let's try that again here. Okay, now, as you can see, there are additional tabs on here that a supervisor can access that an employee cannot, because I've assigned Carl here privileges to do these things. Under a location manager, this is where he can check for his task budgets. Let me take a look and see how I'm doing as far as my labor or unit budgets are concerned. So I'll be able to see a screen with all that information on there. You can set these budgets up inside your accounting application, assign them to a specific task, and then you can see the summary over here as to how I'm doing. How am I doing with my budget hours here? I have X number budgeted, X number accrued, so many remaining, and percentage of my job now completed. I can watch this every day and see exactly where I am in relationship to my budgeted and my accrued hours. I can also take photos here, and I can also put in notes. I can see what my assigned assets are to this specific job. These were assigned previously by another person inside the office. Now I can see that this job has the following equipment or small tools assigned to that specific job, and I can keep track of those now. Another thing I can do here at the end of the day, I can also go in here and do a records manager here. At any time during the day, I can do a quick spot check. What I'm doing here is checking on all of my employees, where they're clocked in, what they're doing, and it allows me to make some edits if I want to or if I need to. So let's take Phil here, because I know I have some data in there for Phil. Is this correct? Is this what Phil was doing? Is this where he was clocked in? Is this where he's clocked out? If one of those items is not correct, I can go into my actions here and make a quick change. if I have a privilege, and if you give me a privilege, I can change a location, a task code, equipment. If you give me privileges, I can change time. If you don't want your managers in the field messing around with the time changes, don't give him that privilege, or units. And we can also set up some custom lists inside AboutTime that would be specific to your company and specific to that employee or to that specific task. Let's say that that cost code was not correct. So I'm going to click this on here, and then my list of cost codes will come up again. And actually what I was doing was this one here. So you see I can make edits and changes at any time during the day to make sure these are accurate. So once you send those back to the home office, they're going to be accurate. Now if I click that on, I can see I have the accurate and correct cost code in there. Another thing that I can do in this part here would be to be able to approve records. And here I can put a signature on the device. I can select all employees or certain employees that I'm responsible for. So I'm going to take Phil down here just because I know I have some data in here. There he is right there. I'm going to approve his work that he did today. So what Phil did today, his hours will show up. There they are right there. The time that he clocked in, the time that he changed and clocked in to the second task, and the time he clocked out, and total hours down here. If everything looks good, I just put a check mark in there. And then what I can do is I can do a manager's approval. And I can put a signature on this device, and it will go back to the home office as being approved work for that day for the specific employee that I have responsibility for. So in just a second here, you'll be able to see there's a screen there for the signature. I can put a signature in here and then send that back to the home office. Just do accept, and it will go right back to the home office. And if you don't want to do approvals or you don't need to do approvals, turn that feature off, and they'll never see it on the device out there in the field. Another method of approval would be an employee. So if you have a specific employee that's out on a job site and you give him privileges, he could also approve it. So what I'm going to do here at the end of the day is send all of these records back to the home office. And the way I do that, I push this little synchronization button here on the device. I'm going to now send all the data that I have collected on this device during the day, send it back to the home office where they'll be able to approve it and manage it. So it does two things at this time. It not only sends data, but it updates any data that has been changed inside your Sage accounting. It's going to now update it on the devices out here in the field, and when they clock in the next day, they'll have the latest information available to them for clocking in and out. Just quickly here, I just want to show you how we can do this biometrics. You just walk up to the device, touch your fingerprint on there, you clock in just like that. I didn't have to put in a 4-digit code. I can also go in here and select a job here. This is on a laptop. I can also select my crew here just like I did before. I can go in here and manage my records. I can select a cost code. I can go in here and manage records during the day. And because there's a database in this laptop, an SQL database, you're going to see a little different view than you do out on the devices out there in the field, on a tablet or on a smartphone. You're going to be able to see the data not only for that day, but you'll be able to see the data for a week or for a payroll period if you need to see it for that specific period of time. So here I can choose the date range that I want to see this data for. And I can see down here all my ins and all my outs. I don't have any outs on here right now. I just have ins. And again, I can go in here and quickly make any edits that I need to make to a task, to a location, or to a piece of equipment, or to units, or even to time. So it allows me to manage that a little bit better. And also you have more real estate here to work with on a laptop or on a tablet. So moving along, we're running out of time here. So I'm going to just go into the control center here and show you where does this data show up and what does it look like back at the home office. So once it reaches the home office, you're going to have the ability to go in here again to set up a period of time that you want to see these records for, whether it's for a day or a week, a payroll period, whatever it might be. You see all of the time information on here that came in from the field. The employee's name, the clock that they used will always be identified. Where did this clock in and clock out take place? The location, the task, the in time, the out time. Over here you'll have your approvals. The dark one here would be manager. These green ones are for office people or other project managers that may need approval. They can get into the system here and do approvals. You're also going to see here, if there's a satellite icon, you have GPS activated. It's going to show you exactly where this timestamp took place. This person was 8.6 miles outside of the job site. The job site is up here. He clocked in over here. If you drill right down onto that, you'll be able to see exactly where he clocked in and out of. And you can run a discrepancy report. And remember, you can have an email sent to key management people. I'll let you know if somebody clocked in outside of that job site. You can also make edits and corrections at this level. So as you can see, we can correct any in time, any out time, any location, any task, any equipment, any production units. You may see something like this, an incomplete entry. Obviously, you can't run a payroll off an incomplete entry. So you can fix that, and you can put in there that this person clocked out at 5 o'clock and put in the correct out time in there, or whatever time you need to put in there. So we're just simply correcting that and putting in a correct timestamp in there. Okay? And the system is just a little bit slow, but it does put a timestamp in there. I apologize. Over here on the left-hand side, it's going to show you who made that change, who made that edit. So you'll always know who made that change and who made that edit. From this point, you're going to create a batch. It's time to run payroll. You're going to create a batch. You're going to push it over here to an integration that we have with the Sage product. Sage does not allow third-party applications to have direct access to their database. So what we need to do here is create a CSV file. It's no big deal. It's just an extra step. Again, we can choose our date range up here. I'm going to take my open records because I don't have any closed ones. This is demo data. Normally, you take your closed records to create a payroll. I'm going to go up here now and see what data I have available for my payroll. And at this point, there it is right there, the same information I had in that time editor. I have everything right there that I need to run my payroll. I could run a quick report on this if I needed to. I'm going to export that now to a CSV file, push it into the Sage accounting to the payroll module, and my payroll is done just that quickly and that easily. So now instead of taking hours every week to do payroll, I can do it literally within minutes. There are a lot of other things you can do inside this control center. I'm not going to show those to you because you're probably not going to remember anyway. But there are a place where I can manage employees, and the employees will also show up inside there the same as they show up inside the accounting. Just quickly here under the location manager, I can set up my crews. I can set up who's going to be assigned to what jobs. Let's take this Ridgestone 5 here, and I can right here at this point set up my employees just by taking them and pushing them over here from my employee list that comes in from your accounting. And I can set up the tasks that they're going to be working on. They're not going to be doing all of those things today. All these guys are going to be doing is maybe this right here. They're going to be building a wall all day long. And that's all that will show up on that device out there in the field for this job for these employees. So I've just set up my crews. I've just set up the tasks for each job that I have going out there. The Forms Express is set up in here. This is where you build them, and we'll train you and teach you how to build these forms. This is where you put the forms in here. You can assign those to an employee, to a job. You can also assign those to a piece of equipment, an asset, if you need to, and a task. And you can view what that table is like. You're going to send this out to the guys in the field. They're going to access it on their laptop or on their tablet or on their smartphone. You're going to be able to go into the Forms Express out here, grab that specific file there, that specific form, go in here and complete it as needed. You're going to be able to add a signature down here and also a photo to that specific form, and then you can sync it and send it right back to the home office through a synchronization process here. You can send that form only so you don't disturb the rest of the data that's already on the device, and then that form is going to show up back here inside the control center under this Forms Manager here. So that's a quick overview of our control center. The only other thing that I want to show you here, we're almost through. I'm going to go down here, and we integrate mainly, with a lot of different accounting packages, but since you're Sage people, just to let you know that we are a very strong partner with the Sage people. We have been for many, many years. We go to the Sage Summits and we go to the TUG conferences every year. So that's the About Time system. Hopefully this was helpful to you and you're able to get a good overview of how this could work for each and every one of you and for your companies. I want you again to write down the questions that you might have. Get back with your appropriate representative there at the Alliance Group. They will get back with me. I will make sure all of your questions are answered. If we need to do a specific one-on-one web demo anytime in the future and go through any specific parts of this demo, I'd be happy to set that up with any one of you and do an individual web demo with you. So thank you very much. Do you want to say anything, Al?
No, I'm good. I'd like to thank everybody for attending again, and I think you covered it real well, Carl. Thank you.
Thank you. Alliance, any of you people, do you need to say anything at this point?
Nope. We are all set. So.
Good.